There we are. Yeah, hope everybody's having a good day so far. Again, we're going to keep with the typical format if you are returning to these webinars, which will, take the first half to go through kind of, the high level. What is Cletus? What do we do? We'll touch on all the major areas of our platform. Take a quick break at the halfway mark, in the hour. Review answer anybody's questions live. Remember, bottom of the Zoom link, you can use your Q&A to ask questions at any time. I'll be sure to stop, highlight some of these questions, and before we start moving forward to additional parts. But we do have a really cool proposal writing demo that we're going to be running through today as well. We have some new updates that we want to go through. So if you're a current user, you'll definitely find this one valuable. So really excited to dive, deep into proposal writing. But then, let the questions and comments take things, the direction that you guys in the audience would like it to go. So yeah, again, really excited. It is 2 o'clock sharp, so we'll give a little bit more time here for everybody to get their teams in, and then we'll kick things off. Okay, so we're 1 minute after. We'll get things kicked off here. Hopefully, the majority of people are in. We have Lewis here from our team. Hi, Lewis. He's going to be helping out answer some questions in the Q&A alongside help moderate. So again, if you guys have questions, even if it's during when I'm presenting, feel free to ask them. We're here to assist. And again, thank you all for joining the webinar today. My name is Yit, CEO here at CLEATUS. We're going to be diving, pretty deep into some of our specific features here in the second half of the webinar, really focusing in on some of our new proposal writing updates. But, again, we're going to still, for anybody who's new, anybody who just wants the high level understanding of what Cletus does, what our platform is capable of, we'll be running through all of that first. I mean, expect about 20-25 minutes there. So we'll, of course, pause for Q&A. Without further ado, though, let's go ahead and kick things off. I'm going to share my screen here. Lewis, do you mind confirming if you can see my screen?
Absolutely, yes, I can see it on my end.
Perfect. Alrighty, guys. Really excited to share again. If Cletus is new to you, we always want to give you a good understanding of what it is we do. We are AI for government contracting. We are using agentic AI to help companies of all shapes and sizes and industries find, bid, and win government contracts. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about how we do that, some of the features involved, some of the technologies at play, as well as some of the examples in which we've done this before. So we're going to really talk about, what we've done, and different ways that, we believe that we can provide value to your teams. To start things off again at a high level, who we are, we're one all-in-one platform. Typically a lot of platforms in this industry are going to either fall into one of two categories, a data solution or a point solution. We like to think we're both. We combine, we can typically replace multiple points of a tool stack, and provide you with the data-enabled solutions that, are typically going to be more modern. We're a platform built to cover just about every step of the government contracting workflow, from opportunity discovery, research, qualification, through processes like pricing, competitor analysis, but of course onto proposal and ultimately award, and even beyond that. So we definitely touch a lot of different parts in the process. And throughout this presentation, we're hopefully going to explain a little bit of how we do that, and what areas that we, I think excel in. We work with a little over 650 government contractors today. And in 2025, they actually won a little over $1 billion in contracts. So a lot of success has been seen on the platform through our wide range of customers in all sorts of different industries and sizes. We are headquartered here in Northern Virginia, Arlington to be specific, but of course serving contractors nationwide. So, a lot of success stories on the platform, a lot of which are available on our website. In terms of what we typically provide your teams is true outcomes. That's, really what we say is the biggest value add to your team is these outcomes that typically net these massive improvements in certain key performance areas. And a lot of times the areas that you deploy Cletus are going to vary. Certain companies have different bottlenecks. Our goal is to alleviate those bottlenecks. When we do that, what we're typically going to see is massive increases in team productivity. Now, if that is a team of one or a team of 10, the benefit is the same. It's ultimately multiplying what a team can do, punching well above your weight class. What we're going to be doing is automating, augmenting the majority of the grunt work involved with working in this industry. You're going to typically see 6X's in productivity. Typically you're going to be saving a massive amount of time per pursuit, whether that be in the capture process or the proposal process or anything in between. A lot of times you're going to be saving a lot of time throughout this process. What that will yield you is improved win rates, especially for contractors already winning contracts, improving your win rates, being more efficient per pursuit, but ultimately being able to pursue more opportunities at once. This is only done by augmentation and automation, and that's exactly what we're set up to help with. We have some really great case studies. These are all available on our website for review as well. And you can see how some companies in different industries and different points in their life cycle have utilized the tool to see some really incredible results. So we're always adding to these as we get more of these kinds of success stories. And we hope that each and every one of you is hopefully going to be able to end up here one day as well. Some of the four key areas that we assist in are going to be in the process of how we automate these capture, BD, and proposal writing workflows. These are four really key areas that we typically assist in, and usually in our one-on-one discussions that we have with clients, we like to dive into how you do these things today, because this is important to identify where are the bottlenecks, where are the challenges that we can be brought in to help solve. The first is, of course, where everything begins, which is opportunity discovery. Many teams we talk to spend hours running capture, whether that be the qualification and decision-making process of capture or simply the research side, understanding forecasted opportunities. If you're a SLED contractor looking through many, many different portals, the challenges are unique to your situation, but ultimately finding opportunities is where everything starts, right? Whether that be qualifying them or vetting them or running through a proprietary P-win process. There's a lot that we do in this side, but understanding how you're currently running this operation today helps us help augment or automate the process entirely. Second is pipeline visibility. So knowing what your company is currently working on, what is in your pipeline, who is assigned to what, these are typically challenges for both small and large teams. Because of course, managing one opportunity through your pipeline is one thing, but if you have 20 different pursuits, which is a mix of, definitive contracts and task orders, managing this can be challenging. The work that needs to get done, having a single source of truth where you're able to manage all of this and make sure deadlines are being tracked and not missed, as well as tasks, is going to be really important. So we'll definitely dive a little bit into this set of features as well. One of the biggest ones is, of course, the biggest pull, which will be proposal writing. So writing compliant responses. Again, very typically manual and time-consuming process, but whether it's the initial drafting, the editing, or even things like compliance checking, we provide a ton of value on the proposal writing side of things. So we'll definitely be talking about that quite a bit. But again, understanding your process, your methodology is extremely important to us so that we can help automate it. Now, competitive intel is often one of the overlooked aspects of the industry, right? There's a lot of data that's useful in our platform, and how you utilize that data, whether it's in your workflows or in your decision-making process, is extremely important. Ultimately, by solving problems in these areas, what we're hoping to do is automate your workflows. A force multiplier for your capture and BD teams that truly works in the background is what CLEATUS aims to be, so that your most important resource, which is your human hours, are spent on strategy, relationship building, and ultimately winning. So to present a couple of these major features, I want to start off with capture. This is typically the first thing that CLEATUS is going to do for you. We do your onboarding in most cases. And once your account is set up, CLEATUS thoroughly understands everything from your capabilities to your certifications, your set-asides, your past performances, even your personal preferences, like towards certain sizes of contracts or even like very niche scopes of work. You might have these things you like and you don't like that on paper you might be compliant or meet it, but you just don't want to do these contracts. This is important nuance. It's all part of your profile. Because we connect to over 50,000 sources of data, we have everything from, of course, federal, state, and local, active versus awarded, forecasted, SLED, subs, subcontracts, DIBs, your different vehicle platforms like PIEE and GSA e-buy. We have it all. So all this data is aggregated into one place, and you have an agent that understands both the contract as well as your company really, really well. So it's able to perform a very thorough match that's going to go a lot deeper than, a NACE code or a keyword match. On the top right here is a good example of a match. This is what this would look like on a daily basis. CLEATUS is going to flag opportunities that are a good fit, highlight those pros, highlight those cons, and then summarize a match score that highlights if you should really be pursuing this opportunity or not. From here, though, again, you're adding contracts to a pipeline to track them further. Now they're pursuits. But you might disagree with one of these feedbacks, and you can actually dismiss them and even tell CLEATUS why it was a bad fit, which further teaches the algorithm behind the matching to further improve this process. So again, fully automating things like your capture process, whether that's signal identification or opportunity identification, CLEATUS is going to do a little bit of it all. The pipeline itself is incredibly important because, again, this is that source of truth that we're working on. While we can integrate with other CRMs that your team might be utilizing to mimic and avoid duplicate work, we do, of course, have the CRM within the platform itself, which comes with all the kind of customization and features that you would expect, whether that be custom pursuit phases, different views, filters, all the things that you would want to basically reflect maybe multiple business units or different teams. You're going to be able to have that level of customization that you expect. And of course, features such as adding leads to specific contract opportunities and tasks associated that need to be completed per certain deadlines. So these opportunities are not only living here on the pipeline when you're pursuing them, each of these cards are the contract. They're live records. They could have amendments, deadline changes, as well as their own deliverables. So having everything viewed on a per pursuit basis allows you to keep it all organized ultimately so that everything that you're doing is driving this pursuit further through the pipeline. But most importantly, it's your process, your phases. These phases are going to play a big role in some of the automation that you then apply on top of it because your process might be to triage an opportunity, then qualify it, then run a competitor analysis, then do pricing, then start drafting your proposal. And that's great because it's all ultimately custom to you. And then we can start talking about how we automate certain steps within that process. The proposal writer itself, which we will spend some time on, is also a true innovation in the space. A fully agentic proposal writer that knows everything about your business's knowledge base, as well as this specific opportunity's exact requirements, needs, and what needs to happen in order to submit a compliant response. This is a single automation. It takes 10 to 15 minutes. You draft that first response, and you're going to watch as CLEATUS spins up in a sandbox environment and starts creating proposal artifacts, which could range from compliance matrices that shred every single requirement out of the documents, map back to the specific page or line that the solicitation requirement comes from, and then even maps to your proposal and where they're being addressed. So you have that full traceability. We're going to create other artifacts like win themes, proposal outlines, and gap analyses. And then what CLEATUS is going to do with this plan is it's going to then start to draft the response using your company's knowledge base, which could include prior proposals, technical white papers, key personnel info, past performance data. It's going to use this information to draft compliant outputs that are grounded in those requirements, but also grounded in your knowledge. So whether it's like the tone of voice that it's writing in or the technical language, it's going to be drawing from this real data in order to write it. And that's a great starting point for a draft. Typically, 75, 80% completed on first draft. But we also have certain areas that we harness our agents in a very specific manner so they don't hallucinate. You can see here on the right, everything is agentic. So what the agent has done up to this point, it knows, and it will tell you what sections were intentionally skipped. Maybe a pricing section was skipped because it didn't feel confident that it had enough pricing data to make an assumption here. CLEATUS is going to know what it didn't complete and what it did complete, so that when your team goes in to do an edit pass or command the agent to run a red team review, or simply to ask what else needs to be completed, you can now perform all these post-draft workflows by simply asking the agent to do them for you and watching as it makes the edits, tracking the version control, the edit history, all in one place so that your proposal can be completed and then exported for final review and submission. We do have some cool features now for form filling, other elements of the proposal process that may not be written as well. The market data is also incredibly important. We have a lot of market data on our platform that's been organized and is most importantly searchable. These are hundreds of millions of records, everything from every single past award ever, the who won it, the award amount, vehicle data, agency-specific data, even data on your competitors and teaming partners, as well as contracting officers. All this data is grouped and organized in such a fashion that it's not only easy for you to find this information, there's also an agent on top of it, meaning your means of accessing the data is not exporting an Excel sheet anymore. It's actually telling CLEATUS to do the searching, to do the analysis itself. You can now ask your agent, hey, who might be the top competitors for me, or who might be the top teaming partners or contracting officers I should build a relationship with? CLEATUS is going to be able to answer that question grounded in this real data and then produce an output with that. Maybe you want it to produce an Excel sheet or an analysis or a report. Or maybe you're just running a pricing workflow and you need that pricing workflow to benchmark against historical data. Well, that's how it's going to do it. All this data is searchable, and ultimately, an agent is going to be able to search through these millions of records much faster than you or I can. And so, again, your workflows, they are grounded in this real data. And our data pool is constantly growing, connecting to new sources. We create a lot of proprietary buying signals as well, whether it be like potential subcontracts or like forecasts, for example. There's a lot more that's coming in the world of signals as well to our platform that will absolutely go through as well. The agent itself is something to talk about as well because it's extremely important that our agents are performing actions like members of your team would. The main key difference between an agent and just a chatbot is an agent can perform actions within the platform like a person can. Anything you can click, move around, drag, drop, whatever on our platform, you can actually tell an agent to do those things as well. That's where you start seeing real productivity increases. So this agent knows your business, knows your industry. It's your agent in all sense of word. It's able to then perform those actions within your tool stack and actually pull that intelligence straight out of things like its knowledge base. So it's armed with this data, making it more capable of performing more of these actions and workflows for us. Now, the next step from this is going to be orchestrating these agents autonomously, right? Maybe running in certain intervals or when certain events happen. That's where you get into the world of custom agents and workflows. So our platform is able to essentially solve any problem, any pain point, any challenge that your team has, or adhere to any process that your team has, because these are inherently custom. Our team works very closely with yours in order to understand these challenges and pain points and produce agents that specifically solve them. Whatever your challenge or bottleneck may be on your team, we want to learn what that is so we can build agents together. These agents can then be, orchestrated to run during certain triggers, during certain events, at certain times of day. There's a lot of different ways to create these, but ultimately they become systems that help our businesses scale, but they're proprietary to us. They're proprietary to your teams. There's a lot of really great examples of agents that we've built from, pricing agents to capture managers that, review intake and opportunity and assign the right team members, or teaming agents that research partners and subs for you. Of course, proposal related agents are also extremely popular as well. So there's really a lot of customization here. And the answer is typically always yes. We just need to understand what are the challenges that your team is facing and how we can help. Another key element is the fact that we plug directly into your tool stack. So you're not going to need to rip and replace existing systems. We can typically integrate directly with them. A couple good examples of this are going to be CRMs, other pipeline management tools, team communication channels, as well as document storage platforms, emails, calendars, even other AI assistants, right? Maybe our data, you want to use it in ChatGPT or Claude products. You're going to be able to do that with our MCP tools as well. And then, of course, if you're on a specific vehicle that's like a credentials-based posting platform for task orders, I'm going to be able to connect to your CLEATUS directly up to them as well, so that again you're connecting more to either orchestrate tasks in those platforms or to pull data into them. So there's a lot of examples of really useful types of plugins like this. The other element is, of course, privacy and security. So our platform has an extremely high level of enterprise grade security where all data is encrypted in transit and in rest, as well as crucially not training on your data. So AI models on our platform are not training on any of your inputs, your outputs, your workflows. All our infrastructure is US based, of course, with comprehensive audit logs away. So a very high level of security that this industry demands, as well as, of course, CUI compatible options on our AWS GovCloud. Again, with the highest levels of security, to service companies with different compliance posture requirements, whether you're on defense or a civilian industry. So you're going to be able to not only have an environment that's safe to run these types of workflows within, but it's going to specifically meet your needs, regardless of what they are. In terms of the presentation so far, I did want to take a brief break here for some additional questions. I'm sure there are plenty of questions coming through QA. I see Lewis has been answering some of them. And happy to discuss anything specific that people have so far as questions. And just to highlight, if you can please use the QA in order to ask these questions, we can answer them there.
Just wanted to quickly chime in. Yeah, there's a question on ISO 27. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely. So ISO 2700, great question in terms of a specific compliance framework that we meet. We're happy to elaborate more, especially one-on-one with specific compliance requirements or questions. A lot of times there can be custom options created, and I'm sure we have an option or a framework to meet your specific compliance requirements here. Typically, the most important one is, of course, going to be FedRAMP requirements for ingesting things like CUI. I'm happy to, of course, talk one-on-one with our team to find not only an option for hosting, but also an option that meets your compliance requirements. I do see another question here from an anonymous attendee around certificates like WOSBs. Absolutely. So CLEATUS actually learns about your company's capabilities as well as your certifications, so that when it's matching you with opportunities and you say have a certification that you want to leverage, or you're just trying to research to see, hey, is this even worth pursuing? We're going to have all that information on your business. A lot of this is, of course, going to be tied to your capture profile, and it's going to match a lot of what it's going to in terms of opportunities to you with the opportunities that you most qualify for. So, for example, if you are holding a certain certification like a WSB or an STVOSB, we're absolutely going to know that and therefore recommend the opportunities that require that. Now, maybe there's a teaming partner that you may have that needs to be matched to these opportunities as well. So we're able to also take into account teaming partners to fill potential compliance gaps, as well as even suggest new partners that could meet certain compliance requirements that you may not meet yet. Another question from William regarding sharing the deck after the call. Absolutely. We'll take note of that for you here, so we can share the deck to you. And then we will be posting the recording to this call shortly after as well. So you'll be able to share the full webinar as well. We have another good question here around if the system has the capability to find bids and determine the match and then write the proposal. So yes, absolutely, that's exactly what we do, right? Finding the bid, determining if it's a good fit for you, and then writing your ultimate proposal. That's exactly what we do. Pretty end to end. It's a really great way to summarize what we do. And then human review, right? That's still a really important part here. AI, our system is as automated as you want it to be. The workflows are custom. Teams have different points where they want to place a gate for a human to review, right? The human stays in the loop where you want it to stay in the loop. If you want CLEATUS to determine, make a go, no go decision, but then still have a human that's kind of final checking and reviewing that, that's exactly what the workflow is going to do. Same thing on the proposal side as well. Again, the proposal process, the first document, for example, um, that first review, there can be a review process that's either led also by AI or by your team. So absolutely, these processes can be captured, understood, and then actually executed on so that your human review steps are where they need to be. A great question from Heather here regarding the PIEE portal. We do integrate with that portal as well. And again, typically the ingestion of CUI documents is what our GovCloud options are going to be for. So we do have options that can ingest these types of documents while meeting your compliance restrictions. I always want to highlight that with vehicle-based portals like PIEE or GSA, you have to be in the vehicle to have a login for it. That's how that connection is going to be made. They're not public, so we can't collect them and distribute them. So it's a one-on-one connection. It's to your specific account. So it's only coming to your account. That's always how those types of vehicle portals will typically work. It's going to be different than like your typical public portals like sam.gov, for example. Okay, these were really great questions. Oh, we have one more. You subscribe to Bid Prime. Can the system integrate with these third-party sources? So typically you won't need to. We'll probably have the same solicitations on ours as well. We go directly to the source. Typically you won't need to integrate another data source. We typically can, however, integrate sources. We do tons of custom integrations. There's not going to be very many scenarios where we have to integrate with another third-party aggregator because we'll aggregate the same stuff. Ultimately, it's all about what we do after the aggregation. So we're happy to also compare, coverage. I'd say we do have a coverage map that we can definitely share as well. We'll probably, over 95% coverage over all opportunities that are out there. Again, 50,000 sources is a lot. These are all, potentially different states, cities, counties, quasi agencies, forecasting portals, and other kind of niche portals as well. But that number is constantly increasing. So the way I think of it is the more data that CLEATUS has access to, the more it's going to be able to match it with, the more it's going to be able to run, processes and workflows with. I do see a follow-on question about international sources. We do connect to Canada sources currently, and we are expanding into a few others. But definitely, if there are specific sources that you'd like us to connect to, we are able to do that. Lewis here just posted the link to our coverage page in the chat, so you can actually access that and see exactly the areas that we do connect to. So that can be pretty useful. Again, if you have questions, it's not stuck to that list. We're always able to add additional ones. Usually it doesn't take super long. Yeah, these are great questions, guys. Thank you. Alrighty, looks like a brief pause in the questions will open up a good opportunity to share my screen again and walk through the platform itself. I'm going to be giving kind of a brief A to Z top bottom of navigating the platform, and then we're going to spend a few minutes diving into some new features that have been really exciting that we really wanted to share. Hopefully this gives you a good idea. This is, of course, a demo account that we pulled up here. We're happy to dive deeper into specific processes and workflows because our process can be so custom because we want to speak with each and every one of you. But I want to highlight again, there's so many areas of problems and challenges that we can solve for you that the hardest part is usually just telling us what those are. After that, we'll solve them for you. We do this, of course, through our onboarding process, which you can, of course, all schedule one-on-one demos with our team just through our website. But in terms of the platform itself, top to bottom, again, you've got your dashboard. This is your central area where you're going to be able to track all the opportunities that are currently in your pipeline, proposals that you have in progress, as well as your recommendations that are coming through. So, good opportunity to see not only the tasks that are assigned to you as a team member of a larger team, but also to see that kind of pipeline health and that performance over time. Again, our platform is agentic. The answer to how does CLEATUS do anything or how do I do anything on CLEATUS, you can actually just ask CLEATUS, right? Telling it to review your pipeline, to produce a report for your manager, or to go in and do a particular research or find an opportunity. There's a lot of examples of use cases with our agent. We try to make it easy by providing lots of examples. So, you can see some kind of research related ones, asking it to go through lots of data, perform market research, or find top opportunities ranked for you managing things on your pipeline. We're going to show you that in a second as well, reviewing the statuses, what are the, most important to-dos, for example, this week. But also, creating tasks, running compliance checks. These are all processes you can orchestrate directly from your agent. And this really changes how we work, right? We're all a manager now. We all have an agent that we can command to go out and do things for us autonomously. And now we can review its outputs. Again, whether that be a document that's created or a report. Again, creating additional alerts, building things within the system. You're able to do that all agentically. The pipeline itself is here. I won't spend too much time on the pipeline. Again, this is where we're tracking all of our pursuits for this company. And you'll see it's fairly customized. You see some custom views, you see a few custom columns. All of these are live opportunities. So these are actual contracts that can have amendments, that can have deadline changes, that have their own documents and processes within each one of them. And you're able to track them all like this. And again, of course, track things like who the leads are, as well as the specific tasks assigned to the members of your team. So again, being able to track all the work that needs to get done and compartmentalize them to the pursuit themselves allows you to stay lean. But this pursuit page, this actually acts as a backdrop for a whole series of automations that are tied to this company. Every one of these columns actually kicks off certain automated processes. And that's really the golden standard when it comes to automating your processes. Because again, going after one pursuit is one thing, but going after, 100 at a time is another. Of course, our database. I want to quickly mention a couple new features here that involve proprietary signals. So again, we connect to a lot of different sources. There's a lot of different records in here from active to awarded contracts, federal, SLED, DIBs, grants, SIBRs, sitters, forecasts. And forecasts in particular are a really interesting one because these are actually signals. As we open one of these up, we get to see the particular signal that's being displayed here. We do describe a little bit of how we make these signals here as well. And we want to highlight that these are things that we are projecting. Whether we're looking at a prior contract that has an award and a base period and, an option period, and then projecting that there may be another one coming up, or we're looking at a specific forecasting report from an agency and then producing this forecast. Forecasts as well as pre-forecasts are going to be really valuable signals for your team to again stay on top of the market, know what's happening before it's officially announced. You can see here things like the period of performance here. Subcontracts are another really great signal that our team produces, right? We break down every single prime contract into potential subcontracting scopes of work. Opening up, one of these, for example, stormwater and erosion control scope was identified as a subcontracting scope on a prime contract. And so we're able to pull that out, generate that signal that if you're more in a subcontracting role, you're going to be able to see that there are these opportunities that are out there as well. Of course, it's all tied back to the main record. For example, the prime contract, there's a bunch of different ways to get back to the prime. And this one may not be awarded yet. So again, this is kind of like a forecast for a subcontract. So, somebody is bidding this, and it's going to be important for us to figure out who. And that's actually a great question for CLEATUS. So CLEATUS can actually tell you who might be bidding on this opportunity based off of certain signals and historical data as well. But ultimately, our main goal here is going to be tying back to the prime contract, and who knows, maybe that already is awarded, and then being able to figure out if who that awardee is and actually connect with them. So a lot of different workflows here for both primes and subs as well. One thing you'll notice with us is we're very good at recommending opportunities because we learn a lot about your company as we do your onboarding or build your profile. Typically, we start with a cap statement and we go from there. But we're again able to match you on a much deeper level than I do. It's cybersecurity work. It goes much deeper than that. We understand your actual capabilities and core competencies, and then review the solicitation's entire scope of work to figure out if they meet. We then have a matching system that's going to take into account things like your personal preferences. Maybe you want to have a specific amount of days to bid on a contract or a certain size that you're looking to avoid. There's no real limitations to how these preferences work, but they affect those scores. So a 96 to you might, maybe this opportunity isn't, you don't feel like this is a 96 for you because VDOT is not an agency you like to work with. Well, that should be a preference that CLEATUS can learn. And so that's really the concept of our recommendations. But this is a constant process. There are always going to be recommendations coming up for you that you can, of course, dismiss and then tell CLEATUS why you dismissed. For example, I could say, for reasoning that that agency is not one that I like, and CLEATUS will learn that over time. Custom alerts are still very relevant. Your team is going to have very specific alerts that are combinations of certain filters, and you're able to build those all out on our system as well. Of course, market intelligence. We've talked a lot about this, and I want to show you a couple areas in which we aggregate market intelligence into and how you can utilize these buckets of information. So again, our agent's always on the side. We can literally ask CLEATUS, what are the agencies that my company should be interested in working in, or give me a analysis of recent trends for this agency. Like these are answers that it can answer because it knows the entire situation of the agencies and the data that's aggregated within them. If we open up one of these agencies as well, we're going to be able to see that data ourselves. So, seeing those current active opportunities, seeing the main sub offices, the sub agencies that are under the opportunities. is going to be really important to not only navigating this data, but also, ultimately doing it agentically, which is typically what we recommend. We're able to do this for contracting officers as well. Again, pulling contact info for them, as well as who they're awarding contracts to, what contracts they currently have active. You're going to be able to see all this information and then even ask the agent to pull this information for you so that your teams are able to build, relationships with the correct people, and really ground that in solid reasoning as well. Apologize here as it's loading. There's a lot of data to show. I think I have a few too many tabs open here. Oh, here we go. So you can see here like the data at the contracting officer level. And then a couple other buckets that are also really important are, of course, our contractors. Competitive analysis and research is also a big part of what we do. And this can be used for not only competitive analysis, but also teaming partner identification. So understanding these other companies' prior awards, the vehicles they hold, even their teaming partners, primes, and subcontracts. This is all going to be extremely valuable data, but again, our way of accessing it is it can always be agentic. You can be in a contract and ask CLEATUS what teaming partners, should be, could be identified or perform a specific workflow. It's going to interact with this data that's within our system to do so. Even at the vehicle level, we can open up SOUP 5 here, and we can see the different information on task orders, awardees, as well as even subcontracts for how money is moving through this vehicle, being able to see again who those top companies are in the particular vehicle and how the spending trends are currently shaking out. And we do actually do this down to the contract level as well. We're able to, again, do this at a contract. You can see exactly how the money is moving within the individual award, as well as see things like the historical movements of money, change orders, as well as the actual subcontracts that are being issued under this prime contract as well. So there's a lot of information down to, again, every minute detail of every single contract, even grants. We do this for a few different sets of awards, but this is a lot of the kind of market intelligence that your agents are really going to be able to access as well as your team. Now, we wanted to highlight the proposal writer in today's call because there's been some really cool updates to the proposal writer itself. And I want to just kind of show, what I've done so far at this proposal. I initially drafted my first draft. What CLEATUS did was it immediately started shredding the documents of the solicitation, understanding exactly what it needed to do, building out things like compliance matrices as well as other planning files as it planned on how it was going to draft the response here. You can see here it creates artifacts in a sandbox, and you actually just sit here hands off and watch as it builds these artifacts and makes these analyses on the specific opportunities level. We can see the agent basically continues to write, create these planning files, which could include, whatever documents are required to be submitted for this particular opportunity, as well as certain checklists for the proposal's completion. Creating compliance matrices, mapping back those requirements to certain areas. This is all part of its process, but I also want to highlight that the specific proposal methodology, like the process that your team follows to write the proposals, is something that can be automated or customized as well. So what planning files it creates are extremely important for us to understand because that's what it's going to then use to start drafting the actual sections. And when talking about the actual proposal sections that it's drafting, we can see here it drafted 3 volumes in a submission draft folder here. We actually want to highlight that the knowledge base that it's pulling from in order to do this is actually coming from our company's document hub. So this is loaded with examples of prior proposals, staffing info, teaming, and technical info in these different folders. Our agent automatically goes into this repository and pulls the relevant information. For example, if it's going to talk about your past performances, it's going to pull relevant past performances, which we can see here in this section. It's pulling that relevant information from the document hub to the response in order to meet requirements. And you can kind of see how it starts with requirements, but then it ends with pulling knowledge from a knowledge base in order to meet them. But there may be outstanding gaps, right? Whether it's gaps in your knowledge base or things that CLEATUS needs a decision on prior to moving forward. CLEATUS is going to also stop and tell you what it doesn't know, which is just as important as what it does know, so that it's not hallucinating or making things up. Now, with all of these files being in this sandbox, it allows us to perform other actions as well. For example, if I wanted to produce a red team review, or if I wanted to create an edit pass, I can simply ask CLEATUS to do that for me. I can say, create a red team review. Um, we'll say, run a red team review, uh, and we'll tell it to put the analysis and report into a folder called review. And again, we're just kind of freehanding this. Obviously, you can describe in much more detail how you want the output and the red team review done. But this is a very simple example of what you can do after the first draft in order to better align with, what your typical process would be. CLEATUS is then in a sandbox going to create a new file and actually generate this review. The same thing goes for edit passes. The same thing goes for telling CLEATUS to perform other actions as it kind of continues to complete that response. But the agent, again, knowing what it needs to do, what it hasn't done yet, or what blockers there may be, the agent is going to ask you to provide additional information if it doesn't have it, for example. And your way of doing that, for example, one of the things where I didn't upload resume information for my key personnel. Well, I could have just given those to the agent and said, here, like choose out of these five, who might be the best staffing option for us here, and then include that in our management plan. And CLEATUS would immediately go and do that. So that's again another way of agentically addressing these edits or these gaps. And actually, as you do this, the compliance matrix is live. It's also part of the knowledge base, the sandbox here. So it's going to update those requirements as now being met. So you do see the progress live. All of what we're doing is, of course, tracked and traceable back via the version history. And you'll be able to see here, you can actually see it's already created that folder and that red team review while I've been talking. And it created the red team analysis. It highlighted certain areas of gaps, and it mapped them back to specific technical capability findings and deficiencies. But it's also providing towards the end here some recommended actions. And we like this review, so we're going to go ahead and keep the edits. It actually highlighted recommended corrective actions that we could then, now tell CLEATUS to go ahead and make. And now we're going to watch as CLEATUS reads this analysis and report that our team just created, which you can, of course, edit and customize manually via the middle work area. But CLEATUS will go and then make these edits. So we're going to do a sweeping edit pass. I'm sure multiple files are going to be updated. And this is the process of, again, working with the agent to continuously complete the proposal as we get closer and closer to meeting all the requirements that we need to meet. So we'll see some edits popping up here as time goes on. While it's making these edits, though, I want to turn your attention to the proposal plan. On the bottom left here, this is a new feature that was just released. This planning function is actually dynamic to the solicitation. Every proposal is going to have different steps, but what this allows your team to do is to stay on target with what needs to be completed. We can see here that I've completed much of the major steps in the proposal, and there's a few forms that require filling. For example, I can go here and see what those forms are. This is again going to be generated dynamically per the solicitation we're on. So you'll know exactly where you're at. And actually completing these is as simple as just clicking on them, and it'll actually automatically recommend the prompt to complete this form because we can fill forms, for example. It's also, I've obviously completed much of the compliance checks required here. And then finally, it's going to be formatting and assembly requirements that will be the last things that I need to complete prior to my submission on this opportunity. So again, it's guiding you along the way. But our process in which we take to make things like these edits that actually just completed is all done agentically. And CLEATUS just let me know that it's done with our edits. And we can actually go over to some of these files to see what some of these edits were. So let's go a little bit deeper. Let's see where those edits were. There we go. So here's an example of an edit that was made. It identified that our key personnel section was not, essentially strong enough, and so it actually went through and made the suggested edit to this section, as well as a few others. You do see, of course, you can see the edits that are being made, so your team can trace and track them. You can accept them individually, but in this case, I'm going to actually just go ahead and keep them all for simplicity's sake here. But you can see that as we're working through the proposal, we're seeing that we're completing our plan and continuing through the proposal plan here. We're able to see exactly the required output summaries, deliveries, and really what needs to be completed before we, for example, export, actually assemble and export our documents. So the agent makes it very simple to follow these dynamic processes that, again, are ultimately all defined in the solicitation documents. So we know this dynamic rule book as we progress through and meet these identified requirements. There's a lot of again prompts here that are going to kind of guide you along the way as well. And you can see we've kind of gone through this checklist and done many of these. Again, the agent is going to try to do as many of them off the from the get-go as possible, but there may be certain ones that are not able to be done right off the bat. Okay, so that hopefully gives a good idea of what a short journey into the system may look and feel like. I wanted to leave some more time here at the end, use the last 10 to 15 minutes here to answer some additional questions that may have come up throughout the presentation. Again, please feel free to utilize the QA as we go to answer these questions, especially as we, hopefully go into one-on-one conversations. Our team is more than happy to address any sort of customization, compliance concerns, anything of this nature to your teams directly. That's why we do these one-on-one calls. You're able to book demos directly from our website with one of our either solution engineers or account executives who will work with you to help train your team, help build out some of these custom agents and workflows so that your team is hitting the ground running. We do offer free trials as well, so your team can see a lot of this in action before making a decision or an investment into a tool that's right for you. We're always here to, again, support. We do host these webinars every 2 weeks. So whether it's new features or just a quick run through or training, we're happy to again, continue to assist with this as we, continue to engage with your teams. I see Lewis here posted the chat, the demo link. And I see a couple questions coming through Q&A. I see some sources for education. Absolutely, we do have education sources within the platform as well. So SLED, education sources are there. If there's any specific ones, happy to see if we have them or potentially make integrations to them if necessary. I do see an anonymous attendee with a question regarding transferring Salesforce data to CLEATUS. We have done this before, so data migration is extremely important. This is going to be case by case, but definitely through platforms like Salesforce, there are things we can do to, for example, reflect data in CLEATUS to make that change a smooth process. So definitely excited to, elaborate a little bit more on that so we can find a solution for you there. Um, I do see a great question from Alltech Inc., asking if the system can handle or use existing proposal templates to improve on them. Great question. Absolutely, yes. Existing proposal templates are a really great opportunity to either improve on them, but also to include them in these responses. So the more existing knowledge base that you're able to provide CLEATUS, which could include templates, the better CLEATUS is going to be able to initially format those first outputs using your templates. So absolutely. You can, of course, use them to improve your templates as well over time. And every new proposal you draft is also, again, additional content. So as you kind of add more of the documents and content that you generate back to your document hub, it's actually going to continue to learn over time. I hope that answers those really great questions there. All righty. Any other questions for us or the team? Yeah, happy. Julian, great question there. We're happy to repost the trial start link or the demo call link, both in the chat. I do see they're both currently the bottom messages in the chat, so you're able to jump in there really quickly, schedule a demo as well as start a trial if depending on one of the tiers that you select. William, we have a good question there. How CLEATUS can format the draft proposals specifically based on solicitation requirements. This is a really great question. So certain things like font spacing and etc. The requirements for these are going to be in the solicitation. So CLEATUS is going to, of course, identify these things, especially like page lengths and things like that. So it's going to be included while it's drafting. Now, there are certain limitations. Obviously, it's not going to have as many features as Word, for example. Your outputs can, of course, be taken to Word to complete final formatting. Our biggest focus is ultimately content and compliance. Typically, if you're going in to create maybe a specific letterhead or like an image, some of those features are typically best done on Word because it is native to Word itself. So certain things are going to be best done in Word, but ultimately it's a very easy export to kind of put those final packaging touches. And you can see you can draft proposals quite quickly, so you can spend a little bit of extra time on some of that formatting stuff. We do have a lot of updates coming in this realm, so pretty soon you're going to be able to do a lot more of the formatting within our system as well. And so these are some of the requests that we've received for other directions that the proposal writer should go. But ultimately, the most important thing is, of course, content, compliance, tailoring. The rest of it is going to be more bells and whistles that are added over time. Ready. Doesn't look like a ton of other questions are coming in through the Q&A here. We'll hang around for a little bit longer here if any last second questions do come in. But this has been hopefully an informative webinar. Again, we're really appreciative of your team's time here during this call, as well as any future webinars you choose to attend to. We always host them every other week, so we're always excited to meet you all one-on-one as well. Really appreciative of your time. I hope this has been helpful. And we're excited to speak with each and every single one of you one-on-one, whether you're an existing customer or a potential future customer. We want to help. We want to solve problems for you. The hardest part is always learning what those problems are. Again, software has changed, right? Gone are the days of, hey, this software does this, this, and this, and that's it. We can create custom solutions now. And if we can find out what your challenges are, what your pain points are, we want to help solve them. So we'd love to speak with you. We'd love to get on a demo. Our team is here to help, and I'm sure we have both a pricing as well as a compliance posture that fits your team's requirements, budgets. We're here to help everybody, and we're again really excited and thankful for your time today in this webinar. All righty, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you all for the time, and looking forward to the next one. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody.